Dustin Poirier offered sincere congratulations to Islam Makhachev backstage following his victory last night. He explained that the interaction wasn't planned and happened by coincidence. As Poirier's shuttle arrived, he happened to see Makhachev walking through the area. In that moment, he felt compelled to approach both Khabib Nurmagomedov and Islam Makhachev to acknowledge their achievement. Poirier expressed genuine admiration for what the team has been accomplishing. He highlighted the fact that Makhachev moved up 15 pounds to compete for the title and still secured the championship in dominant fashion. Poirier emphasized that such a performance is not an accident but the result of disciplined training, unmatched preparation, and a strategic approach that continues to evolve. According to him, the consistency and efficiency demonstrated by Makhachev and his team are truly extraordinary. He stated that witnessing that level of excellence commands respect, regardless of personal history or competitive rivalry. Poirier acknowledged that athletes at the highest level understand the physical and mental demands of the sport, and because of that, he has deep appreciation for those who push boundaries, take risks, and deliver under pressure. He mentioned that Makhachev's performance represents a rare blend of technique, power, timing, and confidence, something that only comes from years of dedication. Poirier also noted that the guidance of Khabib continues to play an important role in Makhachev's rise. The chemistry and trust between the team members contribute directly to their success, and their results speak for themselves. From training camps to fight night execution, they have built a championship culture based on discipline and belief. Poirier stressed that it takes humility to recognize excellence even when it comes from a rival training camp, and he believes respect should always be given where it is earned. He ended the conversation by saying that he is proud of the way the sport is evolving and admires athletes who continue to elevate the level of competition. In his eyes, what Islam Makhachev and his team are accomplishing is not only impressive but also motivating for every fighter striving to improve. Their success demonstrates what can be achieved through focus, consistency, and a relentless commitment to greatness. Robert Whittaker shared his thoughts on Islam Makhachev's performance and future possibilities in the sport. After watching Makhachev dominate Jack Della Maddalena last night, Whittaker suggested that the lightweight and welterweight champion might even have the potential to move up to the middleweight division. According to Whittaker, the level of control, strength, and composure displayed in the fight showed that Makhachev may possess the physical tools and skill set to compete successfully against bigger athletes in a higher weight class. The discussion also turned to Ilia Topuria and whether there is any realistic scenario where Topuria moves up 2 entire weight divisions to welterweight for a possible third championship belt and a fight against Makhachev. Whittaker acknowledged that Topuria has thought about it, but emphasized how demanding and challenging such a jump would be. Competing 2 divisions above natural weight requires not only elite technique, but size, power, frame, and durability against opponents who are naturally heavier and physically stronger. Whittaker continued by reflecting on the possibility of Makhachev moving up instead. He mentioned that Makhachev may genuinely have the size to make middleweight work, especially considering how well he handles grappling exchanges and physical battles in the cage. Middleweight fighters are a different breed with larger frames and heavier striking power, but Whittaker believes that Makhachev's style, discipline, and elite wrestling could give him a realistic chance to compete at that level if he chose to make the jump. Whittaker then brought up the dream matchup that would electrify the MMA world: Islam Makhachev vs Khamzat Chimaev. He noted that such a fight would draw massive global attention because of both athletes' dominant styles and passionate fanbases. The physicality, grappling intensity, and pressure-based approach that both fighters bring make it a matchup that fans would talk about for generations. Whittaker added that hosting that event in Abu Dhabi would create an atmosphere unlike anything ever seen before in the sport, and it would be the kind of card where every stakeholder involved would benefit. He concluded by saying that MMA is entering a rare era where multiple potential matchups have the ability to break records, and the evolution of legacy fights will determine how far great fighters like Islam Makhachev and Khamzat Chimaev are willing to push their careers. Dana White discussed the possibility of Islam Makhachev fighting on the upcoming White House card and also addressed the potential matchup between Islam and Ilia Topuria. When asked whether the White House event needs to follow an America versus the world theme, White explained that the focus is not on nationality but on building the strongest card possible. The objective is simply to create the biggest, most competitive, and most exciting lineup for fans around the world. For that reason, a non-American main event is absolutely an option. White acknowledged that Islam Makhachev is currently part of the ongoing discussion in the sport's greatest of all-time conversation. Depending on how he performs in his next few fights, his legacy may shift into an entirely different chapter. Because of that, having him headline an event as monumental as the White House card is a realistic possibility. However, the challenge now lies in determining what his next move should be. There is no shortage of contenders eager to face him, and the list continues to grow. White named several fighters who want the opportunity, including Kamaru Usman, Shavkat Rakhmonov, and Ilia Topuria, who has repeatedly called Makhachev out. He acknowledged that the matchup between Islam and Ilia is likely the biggest and most intriguing fight available right now. Still, White admitted he is unsure whether the UFC should pursue that next or whether Makhachev should stay at lightweight and defend his title again before making any major changes. He added that the UFC has multiple exciting options, and much depends on what Makhachev himself wants to do moving forward. Makhachev has not yet spoken with the organization about whether he intends to remain at welterweight, drop back to lightweight, or pursue other opportunities. Because of that, the promotion will wait to hear his input before finalizing anything. Demetrius Johnson also entered the conversation by publicly stating that he wants to see Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria headline the White House event. His comment sparked even more excitement among fans who were already debating the matchup. The idea of a champion versus champion showdown on one of the most historic stages in combat sports has generated massive interest. White concluded with the understanding that the matchup now has even more momentum behind it. The demand for Islam versus Ilia at the White House continues to rise, and the UFC recognizes the magnitude a fight of that scale could deliver. At UFC 322, Dillon Danis was involved in a physical altercation with members of Islam Makhachev's team in the crowd. Following the incident, Dana White confirmed that Danis would never be allowed to attend another UFC event again. When asked about his disappointment and the fallout from the situation, White explained that he holds himself responsible for what happened. He revealed that moments before he walked out for the main card, security informed him that Dillon Danis was in the arena and had been moving around, sitting in different seats instead of the one assigned to him. White was asked if he wanted Danis removed, and after confirming that Danis had a ticket, he instructed the staff to allow him to sit in his assigned seat and simply keep a close watch on him. White added that he was warned Jorge Masvidal had threatened to confront Danis on site and that they were sitting only 6 or 7 rows apart. Still, White decided that since Danis legitimately had a ticket, they could allow him to watch the event while monitoring the situation. He admitted that it never occurred to him that nearly the entire Muslim Brotherhood supporting fanbase was seated in the first 5 rows to support Islam Makhachev. As soon as the brawl broke out, White immediately understood what was happening, even though he was on the opposite side of the arena. He stated firmly that Danis would never appear at a UFC event in the future. Following the incident, Chonko, also known online as John Pork, reportedly landed several clean strikes on Danis during the scuffle. Later, he posted a photoshopped picture online showing himself with Jorge Masvidal in a way that made it appear Masvidal was holding Danis's head, and the image revealed Chonko's knuckles visibly bloodied. Islam Makhachev later commented on the situation. He said that for the past 5 years, Danis has made negative remarks about various people and that eventually a person has to answer for the things they say when they meet face to face. According to Makhachev, Danis did not respond to any of the things he has said and has continued to make disrespectful comments about their team. Makhachev stated that when somebody consistently insults others, eventually that person will meet someone who confronts him directly, and that is what happened involved during the altercation. Rampage Jackson shared his reaction to the Islam Makhachev vs Jack Della Maddalena fight, expressing that he found it extremely boring. He explained that while fans were excited for the main event at UFC 322, the fight did not deliver the type of action he personally looks for. He described it as one of the most boring fights he has ever watched, comparing it to certain boxing matches where the outcome feels predictable right from the start. In his view, the matchup lacked suspense, drama, and the kind of competitive exchanges that keep spectators fully invested from beginning to end. Jackson acknowledged that Islam Makhachev is undeniably skilled and talented, but he emphasized that being good is not the only requirement for capturing the attention of casual viewers and longtime fans alike. For him, fights need entertainment value, urgency, and unpredictability. He admitted that after witnessing a performance that feels slow or controlled to the point of predictability, it affects his motivation to tune in the next time that fighter is on a card. He clarified that this is not personal and not meant as disrespect, but simply reflects what fans like him want when they sit down to watch a fight. He explained further that if someone is watching a fighter for the first time and that fight is boring, it becomes difficult for them to become a fan. There are fighters who gain followers because even in defeat, they bring intensity and excitement. In contrast, a slow performance can make a viewer uninterested in watching the fighter again until something changes that perception. Jackson used himself as the example. If the next time he sees the fighter compete, that performance is explosive, he might end up thinking differently and eventually forget that the fighter previously had a boring outing. However, the first impression is always powerful and can stick with fans for a long time. Jackson admitted that he does not remember watching Islam Makhachev prior to this event and that the UFC 322 performance shaped his first impression. Because of that, he does not currently consider himself a fan, but also made it clear that this may change in the future depending on how Makhachev performs in his next fights. He concluded by saying that athletes can win in dominant fashion while still delivering excitement, and he hopes to see that combination from Makhachev going forward.